The Greek colonies have joined this battlefield today to prove once and for all which one of them is the mightiest of the Greeks. Will it be the Bactrians with their elite cataphracts and eastern elephants, or will Syracuse claim victory with their phalanx and their crossbow and their cavalry? Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back once again to another explosive Divide Et Impera online battle. Once again, massive thank you to KWZ for sending this one in. I really appreciate all the replays he's been sending my way, as each one of them have been very exciting. As well as that, before we get started, I just want to mention, for those of you who are interested, I believe the DEI Coliseum tournament is going to be starting towards the end of this month, around about the 21st of November, so we should be getting a ton of replays from that. So if you guys are looking forward to that and are enjoying these online battles on Divide Et Impera, then make sure you go ahead and drop a like and a comment down below, because they always are really fun. I think they are just so much better than vanilla for these field battles and even sieges and stuff. So yeah, if you want to keep on seeing these battles, obviously drop a like, drop a comment down below, really helps out the channel. So in today's battle, as I said, we do have the forces of Syracuse going up against Bactria. Syracuse are going to be mainly mustering with the heavy flanks, pretty stacked up on it, honestly. We have some thorax on this left flank, 150 men in the unit. I think they turned down the unit scale just a little bit, which is understandable. The bigger battles on Ultra are pretty insane. But we have thorax on the left-hand side, pretty heavily armored units. These are going to be supported by some awesome colonial Bactria infantry. These are from the south of Italy and are actually really scary. They don't look insane, but they actually do pack a punch. We also, as we continue to go down the line, we also have some more Furios as well. These guys are going to be more of the lighter infantry, nothing as crazy as the thorax, but still a great unit to help support the cavalry. Then on the flank, we do actually have some of the Tarantino cavalry. These guys are obviously a super strong cavalry unit for the Greeks, and able to get stuck in will be amazing. In the center line, we do have a line of medium phalanxes, so a pretty nice defensive shield wall. We'll be able to hold the center for some time. We then have the supporting units from some crossbowmen. Syracuse, this is a special unit from Syracuse in the campaign, so these are going to be great at piercing through whatever heavy infantry the Bactrians do have in the front line. Then on the far flanks, we do have some more light skirmisher cavalry, supported by more of the Bactria infantry and Furios spearmen. So again, I really like the setup for Syracuse. They have very good flanking forces to help protect their cavalry. They have a sturdy front line. Really, the only thing they lack heavily is going to be the range support. That's something that they can get definitely beaten back by from Bactria if Bactria has their heavy archer line. So let's see what they do have. Yeah, they do have light archers, so they haven't really invested too much in this archer line. So you shouldn't really have to worry too much, so I guess it's kind of lucky that neither side really picked up archers. I don't really see that too often as well. In a lot of these online battles, people don't really value archers too much, which I can definitely understand, but I think they are very valuable in their own right and can be used to great advantage. Then on the front line, we do have, 4 units of pikemen just holding the center. So these pikemen are going up against the hoplites of Syracuse, so already the pikes are going to be in a pretty good situation, honestly. Then as we continue to go over, we do have some more light infantry, which are going to be scattering the flanks. And is this all the light infantry? It is. So these kind of flanking positions are going to be up against it. We do actually have some better Bactrian infantry on the left. No, again, just more light infantry, I think. Some more Greco-Bactrian infantry. So nothing really crazy on the flanks protecting this. However, they do have some more Bactrian infantry just behind that to kind of reinforce here. But still, nothing that can really beat the thorax whatsoever. Yeah, they have a thorax, right? Not the Furios, but either way, yeah, as you can see, like on this flank, we have Syracusean heavy infantry, which is going to get stuck in on these flanks, and I think that's going to be, if their line does break, that's going to be where. So where else has Bactria spent their money then? So we do have some more skirmisher cavalry on this flank, as well as some camel riders, so that's obviously going to be a pretty heavy valued point. And then this is exactly where it is. The Parthian hoplites, the super heavy cataphracts right here. This is where all the money went. We also have 2 units of elephants back here, and again another stacked flank with more with more of these cataphracts and some more cavalry. So really, Syracuse wants to try its best to get their soldiers stuck into this battle as quickly as possible, because as you can see, there is a heavy contingent of cavalry on either of these flanks. And I actually really like these ideas of these battles where there isn't like a limit on cavalry whatsoever, as the camel riders do get in range as far off a couple shots here, because, you know, it kind of, you know, some factions are really good with cavalry, and I don't like it when players just like like blanketly say, oh, only 4 cavalry in a battle, you know? It kind of cuts that faction down. Each faction should be brewed, you know, if they're playing up against a heavy faction like the Greeks, you should expect them to be bringing a lot of cavalry, and you should kind of build to deal with that. As you can see, the battle is kicking off with some archer volleys here, just the light missiles here coming in from the slingers along with the archers, just going to rattle up these flanks. And again, I think that's a good idea considering that the Bactrian flank is kind of weak. We're also going to go over here and really try and kind of set up an interesting position there. Moving infantry around this side to kind of turn the battle on its edge is, yeah, a pretty interesting setup, allowing these spears to then move around. Could definitely cause some issues, because if Syracuse overcommit here, kind of try and hit the pikes from the side, which honestly is not a bad idea, they could end up finding themselves as completely overrun. We are seeing a lot of infantry wrapped around here, but again, this is creating a lot of gaps because the phalanxes are a lot slower. The rest of the lighter infantry are getting up here way quicker. But again, not necessarily a bad thing. You know, the sooner you can engage with this infantry line here, the better, because they are much weaker than what Syracuse has. Syracuse have a much heavier hitting force in the Furious Spearmen, or Swordsmen, sorry, supported by the heavier units, so they're going to wrap around here a lot more efficient. And we are seeing a retreat coming back there from the Bactrians, just trying to kind of skirmish and get value out of the missile. So once again, already we're getting a really exciting battle formation, and the elephants are being committed this early on into the battle. We're having the entirety of Bactria's cavalry moving around. This is really bad being caught out. Just the sheer kind of micromanagement intensity of these battles is proving its worth, and this is a really aggressive move. You could end up losing your entire elephant force right here, which is super expensive and something you don't want to do. However, with the support of the cavalry, they could find themselves very easily in the lead right here. If they could clean up this flank with these elephants and cataphracts smashing into the rear, the infantry supporting, they could find themselves in a very strong position, which I think they needed to do. They're going to lose these kind of side flanks of the center line if they didn't do something like this, and it's actually really impressive that they noticed that they utilized the gaps. And again, in Divide Et Impera, it takes a while for units to maneuver and reinforce. You know, it's going to take a little while for this cavalry. Even if it was moving immediately, this heavy cavalry is going to take a little while. So able to get in here and smash this unit is absolutely great. The missile fire is going to continually come in, and right now this is the perfect time to deal with this. As the crossbows aren't focusing on these elephants, hit and run tactics, commit in there, get your asses out and retreat. Unfortunately, this unit of cataphracts have found themselves a little bit less microed, but luckily able to get out of there. And on the flanks as well, you are seeing the cavalry just pull back now, just again skirmishing. Really good stuff right there. The skirmish cavalry will live and die on these flanks, able just to punish these heavier Greek horses very nicely. Again, don't really obviously want to take a charge from this Greek cavalry, so having the javelins come in is great. But really like that mosh pit have the pikemen set up. I mean, he's just spearmen from Matro, just ready here to support this line as the rest of the infantry does fall out. And obviously you have all your missiles as well. Again, not really great missiles because they're cheap, but able just to go in and commit themselves quite effectively. And yeah, honestly, really nice engagement there from Bactria as they continue to skirmish up here. Now, it's going to be up to Syracuse to really kind of commit down this left flank. They're getting some javelin throws off from their heavier infantry on this flank. They have a very wide line of Furious swordsmen here. Probably a bit too wide, honestly. They really need to try and wrap this one in. They're obviously just trying to push back the cavalry and kind of corner it, so that their own cavalry can come in. I can clearly see exactly what they are doing, trying to keep that kind of cavalry, basically pin them in, which again, that's absolutely awesome. Like, there's actually proper tactics being employed rather than Rome vanilla where I'm just going to smash into my enemy and hope for the best, you know. But yeah, they're actually like kind of using this red line to pin the cavalry in so that their own cavalry can kind of minimize that. They can then utilize this infantry line here and again just kind of cut off the maneuverability of the Bactrian line that is being honestly pinned in pretty heavily. The Syracusians have committed a lot of men to this fight, though. Their cavalry is just trying to kind of pull through. That's Bactria pulling back their cavalry, okay. And then there is some Syracusian heavy shock cavalry moving forward. The Parthians are getting thrown back there. The heavy cataphracts, however, more spearmen are moving in. And we're obviously going to have to try and pull back their elephants as well, because the crossbows are getting in range now. They're short range, proving, you know, not being that detrimental. And if they can get a volley or two on these elephants, they'll be dead. The armor piercing on the crossbows are insane. We are seeing the lighter flanks going engaged with Bactrian light melee infantry, the Greco-Bactrian assault infantry going up against the Vorios spears. Again, perfect unit, right? You can see these guys have basically very aggressive weapons, axes, kind of curved blades to get around armor and shields, long swords, and other weapons where they're going up against kind of maybe more of a lighter unit. However, Syracuse have managed to get some of their Brutii infantry into the flanks right there of the assault line, but still, it seems like they're going very, very efficiently against the enemy. Obviously, as well, having the Bactrian cavalry here is helping out is also a huge help as well. And the elephants are looking like they are dramatically moving along this left flank. They basically just need to try and juke out as many of, like, they're basically able to avoid these crossbows. And it does seem that for the most part, a lot of the cavalry have now pulled back from this initial fight, and the flanks have shifted over so heavily. We're seeing basically a complete revamp over here as they just try and move more men, and it's really up to Syracuse to try and exploit this, try and catch the army as it's remaneuvering, and these phalanxes would not be a bad idea to move in. Again, a lot of the archer fire as well, just heavily focusing down all this cavalry, trying to minimize that. But you can already start to see like the advantage of this skirmisher cavalry. The ability to get around is great, and this cavalry is just kind of not committing to the fight because there's just really no point. Unless they could try and cut them into pieces. It's kind of a bit late now, the elephants have arrived, but what they could try and do is just try and cut them off and then spread these guys to kind of send off to the wings. But even then, you're going to be busy chasing them, so not great. And it does seem like this cavalry must be out of ammunition. Just going to try and get a charge off and pin these cataphracts down. Honestly, again, not a bad idea to do something like that, because obviously the person playing Syracuse is busy microing elsewhere, literally realizes at the very end, you can see that coming in, and that's going to cost him. You know, it's going to pin down this cavalry. This is heavy shot cavalry. It relies on that initial charge, so not being able to get that kind of sucks. And now it means that the elephants can move in, or, you know, some more infantry can break their way around, which seemingly is going to go in their favor, and they can kind of really wrap around. However, a lot of archers are moving in now. And honestly, it would not be a bad idea just to maybe try and pile drive through here and just try and cause a lot of issues in the back rank as the battle does continue on. We also do have some Syracusean infantry getting stuck in here against the assault infantry now. These guys will be perfect targets as well for a lot of javelin fire. Would really kill them. Luckily as well, Syracuse have managed to get like kind of an envelopment here because the infantry are so thin on the ground, which is going to be a great thing. And again, as more units try and retreat back, this is where Syracuse needs to pounce. As well as that, it does seem like that the Bactrian archers have either run out of ammunition or have just been mismicroed and have charged the enemy forward, and they're going to find themselves onto the phalanx line, which is going to be pretty goddamn scary. I mean, look at that bad boy. And here we go, a big push there from the Bactrians coming in, utilizing the extra gap, and that's going to force the Syracusans to come back. They've managed to bring around some of their skirmisher cavalry, though. Really nice play here, just trying to kind of pin down this area. And as you can see, you know, even though this unit got the charge off onto the heavier Greek cavalry, they're going to get cut down in melee. They really needed to follow up, which the elephants I think were planned on doing. Whether the elephants were to come around here and hit into the back of this, or go into that and just try and kill this cavalry, they couldn't do it. The crossbows managed to scare them out, and Syracuse did a great job of screening this battle line. And with all the cavalry coming in, the charges, it's going to be really nice for Syracuse, able to kind of pin down this cavalry. And even though they're out of ammunition, this cavalry could still be very useful for Bactria. So that is very unfortunate. However, they have left themselves vulnerable in the center, and they're going to be able to, just kind of charge into the side and deal with some of these lighter infantry units who just can't handle a cataphract charge from the front line. Honestly, as well, if I was Bactria right now, I'd maybe look at splitting up maybe my elephants, bringing a unit around here, and then leaving a unit around here as well, because obviously they're having to be very careful of the crossbows. They're going to be obviously their #1 target to try and kill them. So having your ability to kind of just like spread that threat is going to be great. And that you got a volley coming in from the crossbows. Luckily, not taking them down immediately. In the more recent patches, they did buff elephants, so they take more damage from melee, but less damage from missiles. Still, though, they're going to get slaughtered if they stay in a more prolonged engagement. Down the main battle line, you can see the pikes are now engaged pretty effectively. And again, they're going to be slaughtering the phalanxes. Very, very nice. But again, the phalanxes aren't here to really win the day. And they're also doing a great job. Syracuse is putting a lot of pressure on these flanks. The ability to whittle down your enemy, drive their cavalry back, has really come back to help. And now they're utilizing this overlap they have on this flank, and they're really pushing in the pain. You know, unless Bactria can use all this heavy shot cavalry effectively, and they have been doing so. Speaking of which, a brutal charge here by the elephants right into the side of the infantry. But what I'm saying, if Bactria can't use these expensive units, the sheer numbers of the Syracusean flanks will just overrun them. It's imperative that they use these cataphracts effectively. Unfortunately, though, these elephants, even though they have got a really good charge in and have racked up 100 kills, are now taking a lot of the missile fire. Speaking of which, the crossbows are getting return fired on. And right now, Syracuse has completely got an overlap on this flank with all their Tarantine cavalry and the Hypassus moving around, and that could definitely help win this flank. Again, another cavalry charge going to be going right into the back. And that's a problem with a lot of these weaker, lower-level cavalrymen, and they're going to get a charge off from this cavalry as well. Brutal. That's the problem with a lot of these lighter infantry units, is they just can't take a cavalry charge. You can also see all the missile fire scaring off the crossbows, and that's exactly where they should be used to protect the front line. You also see a lot of the Syracusean infantry have been broken on this front line, obviously fighting head-on against pikes, and also the extra Bactrian infantry here reinforcing and helping to throw them back, doing a pretty good job. The flank as well for Bactria is looking really good. Just this heavy infantry is proving so valuable in the final moments of this battle. I say final moments, definitely not. But still, like, this is proving so valuable. Syracuse are losing their lighter infantry, but the heavier infantry is just proving its worth right now. And again, unless this super heavy shock cavalry from Bactria can pay for itself, can make the damage, can do what it needs to do, they're going to really be struggling. The elephants, though, still going in. 110 kills in these elephants. Pretty good. They managed to really rack up the flank pretty effectively as well. So able to move around. And Syracuse themselves have managed to trade pretty well. Obviously, getting a cavalry unit stuck into here would be great just to kind of help wrap this up. Again, pretty vulnerable to the crossbows, but still. And that's why I'm surprised we're not seeing more of an effort put around here. I mean, yes, the Bactrians do have plenty of skirmish cavalry over here, but just kind of fit over an extra couple of units to maybe cause some issues. I think kind of spreading out the threats is something that Bactria needs to be doing, and kind of aren't really doing too well. Going to be able to get a nice little charge off here, though, onto the lighter cavalry. Honestly, this shouldn't really be happening. The Greek cavalry itself, right here, the noble cavalry for Bactria, is actually pretty fast, but should not be able to catch the skirmish cavalry. So they should just be on skirmish mode and running away. They are going to be pulling back as well. This is also, though, a great opportunity for Syracuse, if they want to pin down all of the Bactrian cavalry on this flank. And just try and surround it. Because inevitably, they are going to have to deal with this. And right now, they're pretty segregated. They have 2 more units of noble cavalry and also the Bactrian cataphracts over here. They could wrap this up if they wanted to. Send some cavalry around, kind of dispatch at least 1 or 2 more extra units of your cavalry on this side. Obviously, it leaves you very vulnerable in the center, and one of the reasons they're not doing it is probably because of this maneuver right here, and then into the back of the phalanxes and stuff. Not great. But that's something they could definitely think about doing, and just trying to deal with this cavalry once and for all. And it does seem like they are committing their general over here. The consistency of the crossbows doing a pretty great amount of damage, just kind of pinning down the Bactrian general. Down to half now, so he'll be going down fairly soon if he's not careful. And we are seeing the general for Syracuse thrown up. Again, might be a little bit scary now as more of this cavalry turns up. They could try and find themselves off on a nice charge. Just kind of commit in. I think that cavalry on the right flank is going to be very telling. We do have some infantry though set up here, and they're basically here to kind of scare off any cavalry threats that come in, if they're not careful. And this left flank as well, with the support of Syracuse heavy infantry, even with all these missiles as well, they're finding themselves in a very vulnerable situation, just being overrun by heavy infantry who can just outclass the Bactrian front line. And regardless of what it is, they're just able to really push back the enemy and just overrun them, envelop them. And again, because this is lighter infantry, it doesn't have the same staying power as the heavier units do. So that's a real big concern. But here we go. The massive cavalry fight is fully erupted now. Both sides committing everything they have. And realistically, Syracuse want more of a quicker skirmisher engagement. They want the ability to kind of deal with this quickly. And the longer it goes on, the more cavalry Syracuse can either send into the main battle line. Sorry, the more time this battle goes on, the longer Bactria have at sending in more soldiers into the front line or to reinforce this cavalry fight. I don't think there's... Where are the elephants? The elephants all dead now. Yeah, I think the elephants did rampage and ended up dying. Syracuse are doing a nice job of just committing more infantry to this line. Really trying to pin these guys down, try and keep the infantry away. And again, it would not be a bad idea to maybe send some of this infantry that is routed into this fight as well. Again, another cavalry fight as the Syracusean general goes flying into battle. Once and for all, really trying to bring him down. not a bad idea whatsoever. And yeah, as you can see, look how much cavalry Syracuse have committed to this. They're really trying to kind of divide and conquer the enemy cavalry. But again, 2 fresh units coming up. And really, the world is their oyster right now. They can decide to go into these crossbows or move into this cavalry fight. I think killing the crossbows is probably a better idea, because these crossbows are going to be shooting you 24/7. But unfortunately, Syracuse have now won this infantry engagement. And they're going to be able to commit more infantry to this cavalry fight, and also a spate of cavalry. So we did decide to go after these crossbows just because of the sheer amount of missile fire. And you can see a lot of them going down. That is a brutal charge, though. But luckily, again, like a lot of the missile fire is going to keep on shooting. They can reinforce some more cavalry. Syracuse, though, up against it. They've managed to win, I think, off in the far distances, and now having to commit rest of their line back in to try and help this out. Try and save what crossbows do remain. Syracuse have a lot of infantry who have managed to win this right flank, which are now going to be moving around and going into the back. However, that morale is dropping. If Bactria can clear up this flank, that can free up a lot of cavalry to go after these crossbows, cause a mass rout, and that would be deadly. Syracuse have now won on the left flank, though, and they are pushing right around here, looking just to put all the pressure onto the Bactrian front line and break it whilst the cavalry fight is happening on the other side of the battlefield. Because if they can clear this up, if they can defeat all the infantry, they can form a nice little box and just defend it, and there's not going to be much. Even though if Bactria does have all the cavalry in the world, it's not going to be able to repel completely. And you can see even some of these pike units are getting hit in from the side, so even though these pikes are set up pretty effectively, they're getting hit by the phalanxes, which is really when the phalanxes slaughter pikes, is when they can get in close to them and they can deal with them like that. It's a nice move right there. As you can see, the Bactrian, their cavalry force is proving why they spent and invested all their money into it. You can see it's really claiming victory here. Only a few flags still up for Syracuse, and a big rout going in as reinforcements do arrive in the nick of time. Look at that dude. Look at his mate. Holy crap. That poor archer. Oh my god, he just got absolutely massacred. But as you can see, they're able to really send them packing, throw them back, and now this lighter cavalry is pursuing the heavier shot cavalry from Syracuse, so able to really pin them down. So even though the infantry fight has been won by Syracuse, the cavalry fight has not. And we're going to have to see how valuable that is. I mean, to be fair, Bactria have managed to take down a handful of the Syracusean frontline infantry, and Bactria's cavalry are looking a bit thin on the ground. But the more they clear up, the better it is going to be. And we are seeing more and more men committed in here. The pikes are still standing. We're also seeing a lot of Syracusean units kind of stacked up on each other. Not the greatest setup, but still not the worst thing in the world. We're able just to kind of pick apart the enemy bit by bit, dealing with a lot of these lighter archers, which might sound not like that effective, but it's actually not that bad. You can really call them a mass rout if you just kind of wipe out these units, which take away the number advantage from your opponent. And you can see it's, you know, it's coming in pretty clutch. They're able to kill a handful of them and really able to push them back quite nicely. The pikes are being thrown in, but again, not able to set up in time. And I think this infantry charge now gets stuck in before they form up. They're basically just trying to form a box now and just try and defend their pikes from every single flank. But again, it's only a matter of time until we have something like that, you know. They can't defend every single angle, especially with this flank freeing up a lot of infantry. And I think Bactria just do not have the manpower. They're getting pinned down by some light cavalry, and the infantry turn up as well. And this lighter cavalry is not going to stand. Like the skirmish cavalry is not going to stand in a prolonged engagement. Luckily as well, the routing units have come back and are reinforcing the main battle line, helping out as best as they can. And yeah, even though Bactria won that initial cavalry engagement, they've kind of retreated back with what they can because they've gone very deep and there's just not enough left for them in the front line. I think that's going to be the end of Bactria. Syracuse claiming this one by the skin of their teeth, honestly. This battle could have really gone either way. And even though the pikes do hold very effectively, they turn around just right at the end. Not enough. Look at that dude right there. Ready for battle. Screaming for honor and glory. Oh, they're getting charged down. And yeah, all the rest of the infantry are going to be able to come in now. You can see them getting enveloped. And that's just going to cut down the pikes so effectively. Especially with the phalanxes as well, coming in from one side. Even with the cataphracts turning up, there's just no real room for them to maneuver. And look at, there's just so much left for Syracuse now. They even still have their general left and actually a handful of cavalry units. They obviously have their general units going to be charging into the back of these pikes. Very effective indeed. It's going to obviously tank for morale, and again, I think a mass rout is imminent for Bactria. They still have like 1 or 2 more units, but again, just being overrun by infantry. Now, the thing is, in Divide Et Impera, you can't just like retreat from cavalry engagements freely. You do take casualties as you do so, and in a battle like this, you have to be so goddamn careful because, you know, your unit could just rout as you try and pull it back. As you can see, the end is nigh. The remains of the Bactrian line is crumbling, and Syracuse is going to claim this one. I honestly thought Bactria had the power just with their sheer amount of cavalry. Like, that was a lot of horse that could have done a lot of damage. But just the sheer numbers for Syracuse on that left flank broke it down. And then they had the extra infantry to support these cavalry fights as well, which was just so effective. And I really like that playstyle. I like the combined arms of having that spare infantry. The crossbows coming in as well were a great use. Was able to really pin down the elephants, because as soon as the elephants get committed, they're the main focus point of everything. So I like the idea of them really trying to pin them down. And they did take casualties doing that, but as soon as they were dealt with, it was over, much like this battle. A few more charges coming in via the Bactrians, but still not enough to claim victory this day, unfortunately. And we are just going to see more reinforcements coming in and yeah, cleaning that one up. So yeah, massive GG to all the players. Obviously KWZ who sent this one in, and his opponent as well. Yeah, so the elephants did actually pretty good. I feel like he should have maybe have held the elephants just a bit longer, because he had such a cavalry advantage. Like, look at all this cavalry. He had such a cavalry advantage that he could have maybe have tried to just try and like punish these crossbows, and then the elephants kind of roam free and just do insane damage, especially against these lighter 4-axe infantry as well. They would massacre them. But yeah, just obviously a much kind of larger force coming into play. The extra 400-500 men really helped out massively. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Link is down below in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one.